time now to take a look at the newspapers. We're starting this morning. The Ghanaian Times says, finding causes of cedi depreciation by partisan committee to probe for. That's the finance minister who spoke to Parliament yesterday. The president is not in town. He is on a trip to US and Cuba. The Times has the story too. And clamping down on illegal mining to cost $200 million, Deputy Lands Minister. The Finder says, Minister explains cedi's fall, blames it on structural rigidities and speculation. That's Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta there. And then we have a story here, carpenter killed by hit-and-run driver. The Independent says, MP calls for legalization of Okada, certainly an issue we will talk about in the course of the conversation. And it wasn't deliberate. We'll recall a fresh... Yes, you heard about the back and forth of that communique issued by EC after the IPAC meeting. Some parties, the PNC, NDC, raising concerns. The EC says it wasn't deliberate. We will recall a fresh IPAC meeting. Daily Graphic, economic management post-IMF bailout. Let us build consensus. Ken Ofori-Atta, that's a big one on the Daily Graphic. And the Daily Guide, how ex-NCA board shared $4 million. And the Catholic Standard says Catholic adjudged world's best teacher receives $1 million. Those are the stories we'll be taking a look at this morning. My guest to do the talking is a former minister under the former government, the former Minister of Gender, Women and Children's Affairs, Madam Oyelita is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing great.
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good too.
Great.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And also I have the Member of Parliament for Ibuakwa North, a member of the NPP and a Deputy Education Minister, Honorable Gift Chum Ampofu here. Good morning too.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great. Thanks for your time with us. Let's start from Parliament. Now, the Daily Graphic says the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, has said there is a need for the country to build strong consensus on how to sustain the gains it has made in the economy so far and will be made in the future. Basing his call on the successful implementation of the prudent IMF program, Mr. Ofori-Atta said the raising of the €3 billion bond at a lower coupon rate, among other things, the Finance Minister said, Ghana is doing something right and it is time we all pulled in one direction. Now, he was addressing Parliament yesterday. He said that in the space of 1 week, we saw a $21 billion rush for our Eurobond. We successfully concluded the IMF program and we are experiencing an impressive recovery of the Ghana cedi, ending the World Bank doubling what it had intended to support us with, he said. Now, to talk about the cedi, Mr. Ofori-Atta is suggesting that the President had directed the Finance Ministry to investigate the structural causes for the depreciation of the cedi and measures to address the situation. And so to that end, he said the Ministry and the Governor of the Bank of Ghana would work together to put in place a bipartisan committee to carry out the investigations. Mr. Speaker, according to Mr. Ofori-Atta, the cedi suffered some turbulence during the first quarter of this year, mainly as a result of factors including pressure on the current account as a result of income transfers by corporate bodies as well as seasonal demands by importers. So that's the story, and other newspapers are suggesting that indeed the economic management team is calling for a bipartisan approach to deal with the falling cedi to strengthen the Ghanaian economy. Let's start the conversation. Honorable Gifty Chum Ampofu, yes, the call to come together to take a look at the economy, the cedi, and everything as far as Ghana is concerned is long overdue.
Yes, it is.
What should be the way forward in doing this? How should we do it?
Thank you very much. I want to greet everybody who is listening and watching us. And I want to seize this opportunity to wish the President of the nation, President Nana Akufo-Addo, a happy birthday, a peaceful one. And interestingly, today is the day that I won my by-election. So I want to say that great things the Lord has done.
You have a lot to celebrate today.
All that I would have needed, His hands has provided. Good. Talking about the cedi and the Finance Minister talking about bipartisan approach. Remember when the president gave out the State of the Nation's address, he said that he is planning for the next generation, but not for the next elections. If you consider the depreciation of the cedi, it comes and goes. And depending on the government of the day, the debate or the arguments will swing to one end or the other. But then, we realize that it's not about politics, but it's about the people of Ghana. And if it's about the people of Ghana, then all of us had to come together, all hands on deck. What are we doing right? What are we not doing right? What did we do wrong at that point, and what are we doing wrong at this time? And also measures that we put together. You know, in Ghana, there are issues that will help all of us. However, if NDC initiate that, it is a political trump for MPP. If MPP initiates that, then it's for NDC. But there are issues about our city, issues about agric, issues about education, issues about health. Should not be partisan. We should try, as politician as I am, we should try to be fair and as honest as possible. Because the city doesn't know green, green means NDC for me, and the city doesn't know blue. So what the president asked the finance minister to inform Parliament with, all of us should get the experts in place. And I heard my NDC friends saying that, hey, if you said you are incompetent, why are you calling us? Oh, no matter how incompetent somebody is, maybe your incompetency, you may learn some smartness in there. So it's important that we see what the issues are. We're in a country where we find people who, per the appearance, you know they are not our nationals. Get to Tudu and the other places. They call you, do you want to change money? These are the people who are also putting stress on our city. But if MPP should say that all these people should move away, hey, and MPP, as Buzua did, they don't like other nations of West Africa. So the issue is, we all need to be very honest to ourselves. Let's put our blue and our green somewhere and look at Ghana and see how we move on. Again, if you look at the cedi and this bipartisan approach, whenever we initiating any interventions or any attempt to bring much more money into the country, we had to all agree that, yes, it's my party, it's my government, but whatever loans I'm going for, whatever investment I'm bringing into the country, 5-10 years, what is going to be the effect on our nations? Once you all agree that because of ABCD, let's all meet ourselves halfway, we're not supposed to go beyond this or that, and we all agree. And those individuals, let's be on them and make sure that they don't operate in our country. And once it's agreed by both MPP and NDC, I'm saying MPP and NDC because we are the only political parties who have seats in Parliament, then everybody will realize that they can't hide behind any color. We're in a country where even if you want to discipline somebody, yes, it should be blue or green. And these things are not moving us forward, especially when we get to our currency.
You early on said that. You've heard some NDC's supporters suggest that. When you said we're incompetent, why are you inviting us? How do you expect the NDC to accept this invitation?
When you talk about MPP and NDC, it's an interesting thing. Before I got to Parliament, I was seeing it a different way altogether. But when I got there, I realized that, what are we doing to ourselves? When you come to Parliament, the friendship, our committee meetings,
we sit,
we deliberate, we work together, we agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, we come to consensus. But when it comes to the broader NDC, MPP outside Parliament, as if we are fighting. We don't fight about issues, we argue about issues. I wish we could be in one of the committee meetings where we're discussing trade and economy of Ghana. We contribute beautifully. So my best friend in the committee is Sule. I say, Sule, the way we are contributing nicely here, when we get to the floor of Parliament, don't be at the others as, but that one is normal. We see, so we've never been enemies.
So you expect them to quickly get on board?
So I know we will talk, And I know we will meet at certain level. If it's not broad, MPP come here, NDC come here, let's meet. But then at committee levels, we will reach that consensus.
Finally, before I get Madam Olilitha to come in, how would you respond, for instance, if you're reminded of Senchi?
Thank you. Senchi, all Ghanaians, including my friend here. Interestingly, she's my friend, though. So today, she was here.
And I say congratulations. Let me say congratulations but we're sad you're moving from the Ministry of Gender.
She's moving away.
She was
from
amazing.
Okay. Right.
Congratulations.
Thank you, my friend. You see, when we're talking about Senchi, we all know the caliber of individuals we invited to Senchi. And the circumstance surrounding the Senchi invitation and then the outcome.
Right.
And as I said, no matter how incompetent you think somebody is, or no matter how you accuse somebody, in God's own wisdom, we don't have any situation that is completely useless. So we pick something out of that, and as we correct all those issues, we will we reach a consensus, and then we bring Ghana to 8 foot, especially concerning our city. Because we can't sit in a country where we have too many foreigners doing business here. And because everybody is hiding behind some color, at the end of the day, they change all their profits into foreign currencies, and they put pressure on our economy. These are issues that if you bring blue and green in here, we won't get anywhere.
I'm grateful. Let me go to Madam Olilitha. So we're out of the IMF. The finance minister said time to build consensus. They are asking for a bipartisan approach to take a look at the city. How is the NDC taking this?
It is very surprising news. We saw Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta distributing pamphlets on the streets of Ghana, asking for Ghanaians to vote for the MPP. And I'm surprised that Ken Ofori-Atta, Honorable Ken, does not know the cause, that the president of Ghana presently is asking for a bipartisan discussion on what? Let me start.
The Ghanaian city.
Simplistically, I can tell the MPP what the problem is. There is a high demand for the city. If the MPP is saying that with their economic management team that the Vice President Bawumia touted about, Osei Akoto, Senior Minister, Governor of Bank of Ghana, if they do not know the problem that we have, and they need a bipartisan committee to sit to diagnose the problem of the economy of Ghana 2.5 years into their tenure, when they have only 4 years, they are now asking for us to sit to diagnose the problem before we come up with a solution. Then Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta has no business being a Minister of Finance. Yesterday, I'll put it simplistically, what did I eat? Grilled chicken, rice, and gravy. The tin tomatoes was imported with dollars. The rice was imported with dollars. The spices imported with dollars. The chicken was imported with dollars. So each and every vendor is demanding dollars. What do we export? Oil, cocoa, gas. Even the cocoa, we need syndicated loan to even pay the farmers. What do we export? So if we do not have supply, we don't get enough money. We don't have the money. And we are always buying abroad and we need the dollars. Why wouldn't there be a high demand? Why would the cedi not fall? When I was young, I didn't know Obroni Wewu. Tema Station was not as buoyant as it is now. Now the norm for every Ghanaian is to buy Obroni Wewu and to buy second-hand. Now it is more expensive to sew a Ghanaian shirt, a made-in-Ghana shirt. It is cheaper to get Obroni Wewu. Obroni Wewu is imported with dollars. So what we are doing now is that this is the cost.
So we know the problem.
We know the problem. So they said they can fix it. Why are they calling for a bipartisan committee? It means the MPP cannot manage the economy of Ghana. If they don't know the cause, that it is a basic structural problem of heavy reliance on imports that pushes the value and cost of the dollar up, and that we need to diagnose, and we need a solution that will bring demand down.
But won't that bipartisan approach find that solution?
If you are a minister of finance and 2.5 years into your tenure, you do not know the problem and the cause of why the cedi is falling and the dollar is rising, and you are now calling for bipartisan and for people to come together. I'm shivering. I go to the doctor. Please let me finish. I'm shivering. I go to the doctor, and the doctor is now calling other consultants to come and find out. I'll be dead.
But if the doctor is unable to treat you, certainly he has to look for another.
So if the doctor is unable to treat me, that doctor should not be sitting there. That's why I'm saying that the MPP they are incompetent, and they do not have the capacity to manage our economy. And the fundamentals have exposed them big time. For Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta to go to Parliament and ask for a bipartisan committee to now diagnose this problem of Ghana, when I, within 2 minutes sitting here, can give you the clear diagnosis, simplistic.
Is it as simple as that?
It is simple. It is a structural problem.
World, so we simply cannot say that we won't allow import, because then we also need to export. So is it as simple as that? Banning import? And
I have not talked about banning import. The thrust of my statement is that we all know the problem. The problem, we have a structural problem with our economy. It is heavily dependent on imports. We can go, the phone Honorable is carrying was imported. The rubber bands is imported. Her hair is imported. The pearls is imported. Her spectacles imported. All of it dollar. I can go to you, I can come to me. So we need dollars to import. That is a structural problem. And how do we solve that problem? What I'm saying is that if Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, if the Vice President Bawumia, if the President Nana Akufo-Addo, if senior minister who has been a Minister of Finance, if the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, all under MPP, economic management team, 2.5 years into their tenure, they say they do not know and they cannot fathom the cost for the doldrums, for the mess of our economy today, and that they need a bipartisan committee. He's gone to Parliament to ask for that. Look at the level of seriousness that the President has asked him as Minister of Finance to go to Parliament to ask for a bipartisan committee. Then they have no business.
I'm tempted to spend a lot more time with you before I come to Madam. But quickly, the former President has asked this government that, hey, you run into trouble, ask for help. It means that you disagree with
the help is to find solutions.
Would the bipartisan do say
the help is to find solutions? So if 2.5 years into your tenure, you don't know the cause,
okay, so
you don't know the diagnosis.
Mahama is saying that ask for help for solutions.
He is asking for help for solutions. Okay. Let's look at the solutions. And they need to have the muscle to adopt the painful interventions that will address the economic mess that the MPP has put Ghana in now.
I'll come back to you on Senchi briefly, but let me go to Madam Gifty Twum-Ampofo. So her suggestion is that 2 years into this administration, the issue should not be that of diagnosing the problems. She's talking about finding solutions.
The issues she's speaking about, are no issues of just 2017. So my question is,
importation started
all
long
these
ago.
issues, she should have advised Honorable Setepe. If it's easy as enumerating them. They are not as easy as enumerating them. The issue here is, if President John Dramani Mahama could allow the city to depreciate to a tune of about 31.3% in 2015-2016, and then MPP as of now is 4.9, then the need for bipartisan is, you don't dig a deep trench for somebody to use 1 minute to level it. So it's important that we guide against digging trenches for economy, for our city, and expect that overnight we should be on a level ground. But if all of us, one person tries to be on a level ground, as we've managed it at 4.9%, and they took the city to 31.3% depreciation, then you agree with me that if they had not taken the city down to that level, and let's say even to 20%, we would have been making it to, let's say, 2%.
Okay, so you say that it is because of the mess that we see what we're seeing.
Thank you.
Whatever.
So,
whatever.
So
they said they had the solution.
Okay, I come to give me a few minutes. Allow her.
But when Mia said he had the solution, he had arrested the dollar.
To go and I'll come back to you. So your argument is that once the mess has been created, it will take time. How long can we have this fixed? And exactly what should we do? Because she is saying that diagnosing the problem suggests incompetence.
We have diagnosed the problem.
So why are you calling for a bipartisan committee to diagnose?
Headway. For instance, the program of planting for food and jobs. This year they're going to cultivate huge acres of rice, at least to reduce rice imports. If you even be able to, Agric Minister has promised reducing that by 50%. But then let's say that plus or minus 10, and we're able to reduce it to 40%, by 40%, or even 25%. At least the huge quantum of dollar we use to import rice, we're going to reduce that. We also, this year, we introduced another intervention, planting for export, where the municipal and the district coordinating offices in the middle belt and the northern belt, they have produced a large nursery of cashew and mangoes to ensure that we're going to improve the export. In addition to that, when you go to the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, they also have a series of interventions. All this to ensure that we're going to boost our import. And when we're able to boost our import, at least we're going to make headway. For all those things, we have put measures and interventions in place. But notwithstanding all those things, it's important that we all get committed to the next generation, not the next election.
Right.
So if they're invited to the table and they think that it shows incompetent, that is their challenge, because the problem, we have enumerated them as politicians for years, as she was doing that. But what have we done? And even this week, no, next week, we're having a program that we have launched already, Eat Ghana, Clothe Ghana, Think Ghana, everything Ghana. Yes, we know we can't use one day to do all that. But when she mentioned this is Ghana, she didn't talk about that. She spoke about all the foreign ones, all the foreign ones.
But that's the reality.
What we say is, for interventions, there are numerous interventions that we have done. And the suffering of the city, as I said, is not because MPP has done worse. We have not done worse. We've done far better. However, they did horrible.
And that is why the MPP is struggling to fix it.
That is why we are struggling to fix it. But if you take it in average terms, if you leave it for me at 31.3 and have managed it at 4.9, fantastic. So then, when you complain,
great.
Then the issue is, why are you rather complaining?
Let's wrap up
on this. If you are
not
complaining, saying that you have messed Ghanaians up.
Let's wrap up on this
one.
The
fundamentals, I mean, every single Ghanaian can see the fundamentals
have exposed the MPP.
The finance minister said it's not the case, and that the fundamentals
he knows it is the case. How much is the dollar today? Let's look at the Bloomberg. Let's look. Just Google. How much is the dollar? Over five. The cedi to the dollar is over 5 cedis to a dollar. Those are the fundamentals. They have been exposed. And what you are saying, when I take the decision, when an ordinary Ghanaian takes the decision to go and buy imported chicken legs, imported chicken thigh, tin tomatoes, obroni who goes to Tema Station, it is because it is an economic decision that Ghanaian cannot afford to buy Ghanaian products.
The two parties cannot.
It is not a matter of the two parties. It is a matter of the level of incompetence of the MPP. That campaign that there was a supposed mess, which there was not, and that they would solve the economic problems of Ghana and bring an economic heaven, nirvana, to Ghana. What we have seen over 2 years, 3 months, is that they have rather driven Ghana downhill into a financial economic mess where they are still going for loans. And even when they go for loans, pathetically, they celebrate by having a party. They use the money, that the loans that they have gone for, that we NDC use for infrastructural development, that all Ghanaians can see, hospitals, roads.
Can you say that
Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta uses that money to buy Kenke and Wache for a Kenke party.
For the
party. The money used was public funds.
Okay.
The money Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta used for that Kenke party, which he got his own civil servants to take pictures and post and celebrate on the media, was money, public funds that he used.
Okay.
You go for a loan. Instead of bowing your head down in shame, you celebrate and use Ghana government public funds to buy Kenke and Wache for over 100 or 200 people. What you are saying is that the MPP does not have the solution to address our economic and financial woes.
Grateful.
Everything, the cost of living is high. Ghanaians are suffering. And it is clear that the MPP do not have a solution.
I'm grateful.
That is why President Nana Akufo-Addo will send the Minister of Finance to Parliament and beg for a bipartisan solution.
Let's move on to the issue of the Okada. Okay, let's move to the issue of the Okada this morning. If you take a look at the Independent newspaper, there's a raging debate on legalizing Okada business in the country. We're told that members of Parliament have been engaged in that debate as they called for the amendment of the country's road traffic laws to accommodate the practice. Now, a statement on the floor by Minority Chief Whip charged the government to legalize the commercial use of motorcycles as Okada due to its contributions to the Ghanaian economy. And we saw what happened in Parliament yesterday. There were counter arguments as well as those who are for legalizing Okada. Madam Gifty Chumampufu, where do you stand? Get Okada legalized? They should be on our roads legally?
Thank you very much. Please let me ambush you a little on loans. Debt to GDP ratio as of the end of 2016, it was 73.1%. And as of now, it's 57.2%.
It's gone down.
It's gone down. It means that the economy has expanded.
The economy has gone downhill.
Madam Oyelisa, it's not
we
your,
are having
your
to pay. She's going back to the topic, and
yes,
I need to
it is her time she's using.
The economy. No, you didn't ask her to comment.
It is her time.
The economy has gone downhill, and it is a mess. And everybody is having to spend more money. There's a high rate of unemployment, and Ghanaians are suffering.
So you allow her.
That is the fact. The fundamentals have exposed the MPP.
But I give you, no, please go on.
So that means that the economy has expanded. Yes, we're going for loans, but the value of the economy has increased. So in spite of the quantum they mentioned, it is not anywhere near their 73%. 73 to 57. then it's amazing that the NDC says that the economy is not doing well, okay, because they were not strict with fiscal discipline. Okay. So people were finding money always, so they think that, hey, now where is money? Now there's money, but there's money in sweat.
Okay.
Okada.
Let's move on.
For Okada, I think that we should all agree to Okada. That is the use of motorbikes, bicycles and tricycles on our roads. If you travel, a lot of people travel, but they travel by air. But for me, because I was a biology teacher and I'm still a teacher, I enjoy traveling by road. So that at least I observe vegetation and the changes throughout. There are areas you realize that if not for motorbikes or the tricycles, businesses could not go on. So I wish we should all agree to the use of these bicycles and the tricycles for private and commercial purposes. And we need to register them as such and have laws to guide them, and we have training for them. Once you do that, you're going to solve a lot of problems. For instance, when you get to the hinterlands, going to farm and bringing your farm produce to the market, how many of them could afford tractors and Kia trucks? But many of them, they have these Okadas to their farms and get goods cut from their farms to the market. When it comes to bicycles, even in Accra, look at the traffic. So if you need somebody to pick something from one point to the other quickly for you, the Okada does that and does it faster, except that there are no rules guiding them. And I always say that Ghana is the only country that when the red light is on, you find the motor rider crossing. So you should have the rules, train them, and then guide and guide them to do the right thing, to ease.
Is enforcing these rules not going to be what will be the problem? Making sure that they do the right thing.
All of us should agree that the right thing must be done. As of now, many of them have bought the motorbikes, and I wouldn't hesitate to say that both parties, MPP and DCs, you have bought some for our young men. And if they have the motorbike, they use it to their comfort or to their convenience. And not only to their convenience, there are too many areas that normal cars cannot get there. And these motorbikes do get there. Why then do you want to sit in a comfortable four-wheel vehicles? And if they have access to only two-wheel motorbikes, you say no. So I think that
the danger involved, the use of the motorbikes.
They've always been using them, and the danger has always been with them. Even using vehicles, using four-wheel cars, there's still dangers. Jaguars and others, they still have accidents. But we should have rules and we should train them. The training is very important.
You are suggesting that we should all support the call to legalize Okada, but the First Deputy Speaker of Parliament is suggesting that no responsible executive will legalize Okada business.
What do you mean by legalizing it?
Allowing them to, what they are doing now is illegal. Using motorbikes for commercial activities. Now, this is what Parliament is asking for. Legalize it, let them use it to do their commercial activities. He is suggesting that it will cause more danger because then you're allowing them to use the motorbikes to engage in crime and all that.
I beg to differ. For some time, when there was so much crime at night in Accra and Kumasi, they embossed all the taxis. And they made an announcement that when you pick these embossed taxis, you are sure that you have picked a genuine vehicle. And when they did that, especially crime at night, by boarding a taxi and at the end of the day, something else happening, reduced drastically. So I think that we may be deceiving ourselves to think that because we have not legalized Okada, the Okada business is not going on. It is increasing tremendously all over the country. The cities, the peri-urbans, they are all over. That is why it's important that we sit, we judge and see how well we could maintain these things. I'm afraid if we ban this Okada, our friends in the hinterlands wouldn't be appeased with that. Because in some villages, in some farming communities, if not for Okadas and the tricycles, and even when you go to now from Kumasi upwards, what the people call Pragia, it's also a tricycle. They're using it for commuting purposes. They are all tricycles. And they are working all over. For Tamale, don't go near. There are many of these Pragia in Tamale than taxis. All city authorities are looking on, but they are working. So I think we should all sit around table and judge to ensure that whatever rules, whatever training we need to give to them, whatever limitation, you could say that, okay, for one reason or the other, in some metropolis, in some areas, we don't need them because we have enough four-wheel vehicles. But in some areas, even the nature of the roads is only the 2 wheels and the 3 wheels that could be there. So then I think we should sit and deliberate.
Right, I'm grateful. Honorable Madam Yelita, she's for legalizing Okada. Where do you stand?
There are arguments for justifying why Okada should be regularized. It's a business, it's a form of employment, it's a means of transport. There are also arguments against in terms of the concerns that have been raised, that sometimes it is used for robbery, the injuries, the accidents, and I believe that for us to take a decision, we need to review all these arguments. We can say that it has come to stay. The Okada business has come to stay. I have moved around the whole of Ghana, in the villages, in the towns, in the city centers, have seen how they operate. So the experts need to come in. The road users also need to get their voices heard, because like I said, it's a means of transport at all levels. When we go to the rural areas, it's a means of transport. When we come to the urban areas, it's also a means of transport. So the users and the experts should let us know, how can we manage the Okada business effectively, the use of the Okada business effectively, so that we reduce the bad sides in terms of the accidents. How do we reduce? In terms of the fact that sometimes it causes traffic obstruction, and also to manage it so that it's not used for other unlawful purposes. But it has its advantages as a means of transport and as a form of employment. So I'm hoping that we look at this whole issue from this perspective, and we regularize, and we ensure that there are very clear guidelines strengthened by law to manage and regularize the Okada business.
I'm grateful. Finally, let's touch on this one before we get up. If you take a look at page 20 of the Daily Graphic, University of Education Winneba is still in the news. There's a group suggesting that the call for the Vice Chancellor and the Chair of the Governing Council to resign is baseless. The group are made up of concerned lecturers of the university. They are suggesting that the call by UTAG to get the Vice Chancellor and the Chair of the Council to step down is baseless. They do not think that that should be the way forward. Let me quickly come to you, Madam Gifty Chumampofo. The Winneba issue, how do we deal with it? Should the Vice Chancellor go?
Thank you very much. Issues about Winneba. I think enough with the media banter and enough with all those fashions there. We need to sit down and we all as human beings learn to do things right. For me, whatever as Christ said, do unto others as you want others to do unto you. Whatever you wouldn't want others to do unto you, why do you want others to suffer so? So please, I will say that Winneba ceasefire. Council, Vice Chancellor, UTAG ceasefire. After all, Vice Chancellors were members of UTAG.
Right.
So please, UTAG and Vice Chancellors sit. Council, sit. The university belongs to all of us. I think we have too much turbulences at Winneba. And it didn't start from just yesterday. So please, let's all come together. As I said, enough with the media banter. And at any time we have concern that we're getting too personal. And let me say that we've got into a time that we no longer love Ghana. Politicians, non-politicians, we no longer love Ghana. We love ourselves. If you get into it, why UTAG is saying so, then we're like, where from this concern UTAG members to? What is their interest? We're getting too personal, such that we don't think about mother Ghana and our institutions. Enough with the banter. Let's all meet ourselves halfway and think about Ghana. And thinking about Ghana is thinking about the students and the states of Ghana who will continue to pay the lecturers even when the school has closed down. So please, enough. And then journalists, please, don't pick these things, blow them as if heaven is breaking loose and hell is engulfing all of us. Let's sit Ghana and our young individuals out there.
Winneba in the news again. Concerned group asking that the VC and the chair of the council should not step aside.
You see, Bright, never in our history has tertiary education been so heavily politicized like this regime of MPP. Let's look at what's happened at Kwame Nkrumah University. Let's look at what happened in the Volta region. And then the university in Winneba. And let's look at the eye of the storm. The MPP member of parliament, Honorable Afenyo Marking, is in the eye of the storm in the University of Winneba impasse. The case has gone to court despite the fact that the case was in court. His Excellency President Nana Akufo-Addo went and presided over a function which was wrong. This issue has been, this issue,
we're told that he did nothing wrong going
whether
there.
he did nothing wrong or not, there was a court issue. And as a president of Ghana, he should have stepped down and allowed them to do what they want to do. Tertiary education should be independent of the political realm. This is higher learning. But under MPP, we have had so many issues with tertiary education. We have had so many issues. And the University of Winneba issue, tertiary education, has been so politicized. And who suffers? It is that university student. The university campus has been closed down, and that university student in Winneba is sitting at home. When some of the politicians' children are in school, in university, learning, because of the politicization of the issue and the disregard for even Supreme Court decisions on this, we are asking the MPP government that tertiary education, they should leave tertiary education alone and let the law rule.
Okay.
And we want our human resource to be quality. We want to export human resource. We want Ghanaians to be educated so that they can help in social development. You have made traffic light secondary school education, and grateful. Now you are politicizing tertiary education.
I'm grateful.
Enough is enough for the MPP.
Time to wrap up now. I'm grateful for your time with us in the studio this Friday morning. Madam Gepti Chumampo is the Deputy Minister of Education, MP for Ibuakwa North, and she says she's celebrating a whole lot today. The president's birthday today is the day. It's
happy
exactly
birthday!
2 years.
Happy birthday!
2 years.
Happy birthday, President Nana Akufo-Addo.
Right, and to
we also say happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday too. And Madam Oyili is a former Minister for Women and Children's Affairs. Gender. Grateful for your time with us this Friday morning. Stay